Hey guys, I just want to let you know before we get into this episode that we've partnered with Band Builder Academy. Band Builder Academy is the #1 place to grow your music career. Run by top label manager and Sony Vice President Todd McCarthy, so you know it's worth it. Enter promo code CONCERTS at checkout to receive 10% off membership.
Hey, this is Jesse from Chokesetter. This is Concerts That Made Us.
Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, Concerts That Made Us. Interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and the cheering crowd sound. It's concerts, concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
On this episode, I'm chatting with Jesse from Chokesetter, an awesome band that really know how to rock. Chokesetter were formed 4 years ago, but the guys have a long history in music, so they know exactly what they're doing. Before we get talking to Jesse, we're going to take a listen to their track Motorboater. So, without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Show me, I ain't got no
Jesse, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Oh, thank you very much. We really appreciate you letting us be here.
I'm delighted to have you guys now. We kicked off the show with an awesome, awesome rock song now, Motorboater. Would you like to tell us about it?
Oh man, it's the single they were wanting us to push. That song is it's such a fun song. When we wrote it, everybody always wants to know what it's about because they always think it's about what they think it's about. Not at all. That just happened to be a line in it that turned out well. For
Yeah,
a song title. It's really about me meeting the ghost of Frank Zappa in a bar in New Orleans, and
right.
him telling me about life, and kind of telling me to carry the torch basically for the weirdos and the crazies.
So I take it your lyrics aren't based in realism, so.
Not every song, no. You got to throw some fun in there, but a lot of what I write about, experiences of some sort. Not all true as far as, but most every song I have has some kind of truth behind it, of an experience of one of the band members or myself.
And what was the process like, from conception to recording to release?
These guys, it was a really funny story. I had got out of music for a while, and just to be with my kids, and kind of, I've played for a long time, and the guys have all, obviously we've all played for a while. And I did some touring and did some other things, and was just kind of tired and ready to hang out with my family. And so I did that. And Larry, our drummer, is actually a fine tattoo artist, and he was doing some work on me one day, and he was like, "Man, we got this band. You think about playing anymore?" I'm like, I'm kind of out of it now. I'm kind of having fun just sitting at home, And he slid his phone across, and I thought we were listening to Pandora or something, And this just awesome sound came out, and I was like, "Damn, who is that?" And he said, "That's what I want you to come over and sing on." I said, "Damn it." I went home and told my wife. I said, "Uh-oh." I said, "I think something's going to happen here." And so that's where it all started, as far as me coming into the band. And then, man, when I walked into the band room and heard what those guys had, and we just started writing from there. We just built on what they already had, and just, man, it turned into an awesome sound. I really thought it's something different, from everybody else.
Yeah, it definitely is. It really stands out. What was the reaction from the fans like?
When we first came out, we were pretty accepted. It was really crazy. We had all been in really heavy bands before and stuff. And, when we came out with this, I think everybody was more shocked, as far as our local people that knew who we were and knew what we had done before. And it was just kind of a shocker. And then, I think because of the name, we really got roped into playing with a lot of, nothing bad, obviously, death metal bands, and they had way, way heavier bands than we are, obviously. And
Yeah.
even those people were like, "Wow, man, it's so nice to get a breath of fresh air in between that stuff," And so we've been accepted by everybody pretty well, and we've all been really, really happy about it.
It's funny you should mention it though, because you're totally right. The name Chokesetter, when you see it wrote there, it's like, oh man, these are going to be some really heavy death metal guys. Like, where did the name come from?
Actually, a choke setter. It's and we kind of laughed because we thought our album cover would have kind of explained it. A choke setter is the guy that sits at the end of the hill, a lumberjack, and puts the choke on the log to drag it up the hills and stuff like that. That's what a choke setter is.
I get you.
Yeah, so and that's the yeah. And so it comes from a cool thing, and so we kind of write about things like that too, So
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Now, at this point, I usually like to dive into my guest's history a little bit. So, if you can now, can you remember your very first musical memory?
oh yeah, I grew up in a bluegrass background, and my dad was friends. They're my uncles, is what we call them now. But these guys are all bluegrass pickers from down in Kentucky and stuff like that. And that's my earliest memories of watching these guys, just amazing guitar players and banjo players and fiddle players. And and as I got older, I had a brother that was 8 years older than I was, a stepbrother, and he was into the metal and stuff. And I'm listening to these metal guys, and I'm looking at these bluegrass guys, and I'm thinking to myself, now, you're lying to yourself if you don't think heavy metal come from bluegrass somewhere as fast as these guys are playing. I was like, that's my earliest memories when I was, 5, 6 on up, was watching these bluegrass pickers just tear it up in my backyard at bonfires and stuff.
And have you ever had any, inklings to go into bluegrass music yourself?
Man, if I had the voice, I'd have done did it. Fortunately, I like the aggression of rock and roll too much, and it's bluegrass. I would really love to do it, but it's one of those things where it's like, wow, it's a whole different style for me, and I think it'd be harder for me to do that than it would be for what I do now. And that's what's crazy about it. My uncles all give me crap about it all the time.
Yeah, I could imagine. So growing up then, what was the point when you thought, right, I want to be a musician. I want to go into music?
Oh, it's my very first concert for sure, man. I believe it was Clutch, Biohazard, or Clutch and Sepultura. And I was standing, in the crowd with my brother, and I was like 13 years old, 14 years old. And I was just like, man, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And, from that day on, I was figuring out how to do music somehow or some way, and here I am.
You definitely stuck with it. I have to ask though, you mentioned a few minutes ago that you took a break. I always kind of feel like musicians are the one people that can never take a break. You're constantly surrounded by music. There
Yeah.
must have been an awful itch daily to get back at it.
Oh, it was terrible. I mean, I even cut myself from going off to concerts and stuff like that. I couldn't even go out to a show because
Oh man.
it would eat me alive. I'd think about it for 2 or 3 weeks and be like, oh my gosh, man. And to watch bands, some bands nowadays that are more worried about how pretty they are than, what their sound like is, it just killed me because they'd be up there flipping their hair instead of, trying to connect with the crowd. You got to connect with the crowd and the people, man. That's what it's all about. If it wasn't for the people, the fans, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We owe it to them to show them how much we love what we're doing and, how much they love what we're doing. So to me, that's a big deal. We're taking that break, and my wife was like, she didn't complain too much. She was like, you need to get back out there. You're in here pacing like a caged animal sometimes,
Yeah, geez. Yeah, like it's just weird because I almost feel like it's the one profession where it's in your soul. It's like you're born to do it.
Yeah, you can't. That's one of them undeniable, things. And people always ask me, they're like, how long are you going to do it for? And it's like, probably till I drop, man. I mean,
Yeah.
just honestly, I can't, because it just takes a new band or a new sound to get you back to where you were, when you were 12 and you heard, say, Slayer or whatever for the first time. And you're like, mine was blown because you've never heard anything that amazing. And there's some of these kids coming up nowadays can do that, and there's a couple bands out there. It's just like, wow, man, you guys are fierce. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So the history of the band, you told me how you ended up joining it, but how did Chokesetter come to be about?
Steve and Bone had a project going together there for a while, and they got just a stoner vibe in them and started writing with our original bass player. Those guys all started working on stuff, and they just couldn't get the right singer, I guess, or the right feel. And then it just happened to come along, and they had all this great music. I mean, I really work with the best friends I could have, and maybe the best musicians too. I mean, they are all just, everybody's got the greatest ideas, and I think it really stems from all of us coming from such different music backgrounds. Really, we all listen to something different, but the same thing at the same time. So it really, man, I couldn't ask for a better group of people. I really couldn't.
Yeah, and that's so important. When putting a band together, you need to almost feel like family.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. We all get together, everyone, for even if we're not playing or something, just to have a dinner or something, just to let everybody know, hey, we're still thinking about each other. We're still doing something.
I like that actually, because I always feel with bands as well, it's important to do other stuff besides the music, to bond outside of music.
You got to know, all my kids know everybody is Uncle Steve and Uncle Bone, and everybody. It's good that we've all been friends for almost 20 years since we were kids, all starting in music. So that really helps. Is that we all watched each other's bands, played with each other's bands, gave each other ideas all these years. And then finally we all got to work together. And when Dustin come into the band, it was just like a big boom, and it was you felt something different when he come in, and it was like that circle was finally completed to where it needed to be, and we were on the path.
Yeah, I get you. Now, currently, I feel like 80-90% of bands at the moment formed during lockdown, but Chokesetter has been together for 4 years. You guys formed before COVID and everything. It must have kind of felt like you were just hitting the ground, getting things together, and then it happened. How did you deal with it?
We that was so rough, man, because we had all these plans for our album to be released. We had just got done recording. We were too, boy. We had good momentum. We were like, all right, man, here we go. We're gonna give this a good run. And about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after our album was released, they shut it all down. All our shows got canceled. Everything. I'm like, we're all like, we got all these albums, we got all this stuff. What are we gonna do now? So we all kind of did what everybody else did. We all had to shut it down, which was horrible for everybody, really. But the whole world shutting down, you can't do much about it. So we were like, you know what? We'll just come out swinging. When this is done, we'll tighten everything up. We'll make sure we're the tightest band that can be out, as far as coming to see us live. And we did. We tightened everything up, and we came out swinging.
That first show post-lockdown must have been a massive celebration, was it?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it was. Played here in our hometown. Everybody was ready. Everybody was ready.
I could imagine. Just a massive release.
Oh, yeah.
So I always ask, as a concert goer yourself, what concerts do you think have made you?
Man, me being a 90s kid, 80s, 90s kid, I'd say, as far as growing up and knowing what you like as far as music goes. I remember the first time I saw Pantera, and I was just like, holy shit, this isn't right. There should not be this much talent in one band. This is insane,
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever heard anybody mix heavy metal and like Texas blues. And I was just floored. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I think that one, and definitely the first Clutch show. And the first time we actually played with a band from Fort Wayne, they're a 2-piece called Left Lane Cruiser. Back in the day when we were young, we played with them quite a bit when we were young, and we're still friends now to this day. Those guys, man, for a 2-piece band, brought a blues sound that was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And that really changed me, because I was like, 2 dudes can do that. Man, there ain't nothing we can't do. That's what I was thinking to myself.
Just goes to show you what's possible.
Yeah, it's if you ever get a chance to check them out, check out Left Lane Cruiser. They're ridiculously good.
Definitely. And the listeners will have to check them out as well. And from your own shows that you've played then, what gigs do you think have made you guys?
I'm not even going to say the big shows. What makes us is when we play my rule is, as far as being a frontman and a musician in general, is it doesn't matter if there's 5,000 or 5 people at the place. We're going to play like there's 5,000 every time. And I think that's what makes us stand out, is because if you come to our show and you're the only guy in the crowd for some reason, we don't give a shit. We're going to play like there's 50,000 people standing in front of us every time. And that's the energy you got to bring, and that's my favorite. The little clubs where it's way more personal. Obviously you like playing the big place where you get the reaction and you get the fun, but still playing the small pubs and the small clubs, man, it's so cool, man. It's just that feeling it brings you back, you know what I mean, to where you started.
Yeah, exactly. You can see the looks on the people's faces,
Absolutely.
See their eyes. Yeah.
You get to shake hands while you're playing and stuff like that. There's not 10 security dicks standing in front of you in a cage while you're trying to play with these guys,
Yeah. So how did you approach, working on your stagemanship, and getting the crowd going and interacting with the fans? How did you work on that from the start?
I I got tired of watching people stand in front of me with a microphone stand. And I was like, man, it's awesome. You got a great voice, dude, but you are the most boring SOB to watch I've ever seen in my life, man. And I'm like, I didn't pay $30 to watch somebody, dude, that's my big thing with it. It's like, like we touched on earlier, it's like, you're here for a show. You're here to release just like I am. This is my therapy. This is your therapy. I was a concert goer before I was a concert doer, and I remember just standing in the middle of just this, you hear about heavy metal people being such assholes and, they're all mean, they're all tattooed guys, and
Yeah.
just standing in the middle of these guys and watching them knock each other down and pick each other up and buy each other a beer after it was over. And I'm like, that's what these guys want. They want energy. They don't want you to stand there and talk to them about politics or religion or blah, 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 or what they should be thinking. They want to release for the night. They don't want to think about tomorrow packing Bubby's school bag and peanut butter jelly sandwich. They're going to drink beer and throw down a little bit, have a good time, So that's how I approach it. I'm like, I was that guy standing in the crowd once. I don't want nobody to ever think that about me. And if they ever do, then it's time for me to quit.
Yeah, I get you. And if you had to pick one show that stands out in your memory that you could go back to over and over again, that's probably the best one you've ever played, what do you think it is?
Oh man, it's in between a big show and a small show we did. So we did it's got to be a tie between these two, and the guys will know exactly what I'm talking about when they listen. We played a place in Grand Rapids, Michigan once, and I believe it was called Mulligan's. And we're on our way up to Mulligan's, and we get the lineup, and it's 4 death metal bands and us. And I'm like, oh, shit, what did we get ourselves into, So we get up there, and the show ends up being like amazing. And they stick us like basically in the middle of everybody. And it just, dude, after the show, we had a buddy with us, and he comes over and he's like, listen, man, you got to go over to the merch booth real quick. And we're trying to get our stuff off, because we're not those assholes that talk to people while they're trying to load and unload. And I'm like, what's going on, man? And I look over to the merch booth, and I shit you not, there was a line of people standing waiting for us from a death metal show. And I was like, all right, man. So, it's between that and that. We just played with Crowbar. And Crowbar, dude, those guys were so nice to us, man. They were so great. And that was a pretty memorable show. Those guys were really humble, great crowd, great reception. It was one of those shows that you're like, I'm going to remember that one for a while,
Yeah.
I'm sure guys felt the same way as I did,
Yeah. I love hearing that, though. I love hearing when bands are good to other bands, or good to the support bands.
We haven't really ran into anybody that was, unhumble to say nicely or assholish. I don't know how we say it. Everybody's been, dude, the guys from Crowbot and Crowbar were both great. Hank and the Strange Band, those guys were really good. The guys from I Hate God, Jimmy and them guys were really, really good to us. Every local band that we've ever played with has been fantastic. We played with Wizard from out in Montana, and those guys you would never know those guys were in a band. That's what they were that down to earth and that cool. And they were one of the great stoner rock bands from out there. They're good music.
Yeah. It's the way it should be, There shouldn't be any negativity or competition.
I don't understand the animosity in music. I'm like, man, we all know why we're here, you know what I mean? If we compete, then nobody wins, obviously, because then you get, people are going to be like, listen, this guy's an asshole, but they're good. That's what sucks. You know what I mean? It's like, you can be an asshole and be good. And there's, it's a lose for a lot of bands is what sucks,
Yeah. Or it's like when you see this band and, they have thousands of fans, but for a fact, individually, they are assholes.
Terrible people. It's like, man, and it's back to the thing we touched on. So these people are why we do what we do. Why would you treat anybody lesser or different from what we are? You know what I mean? We all get buried 6 foot deep in the end, where there ain't different about not one of us, color, race, sexual creed, nothing,
That's it. Exactly. Now, to switch it around a bit, not to get too negative, but if there was a gig that you would say was the worst experience you've had, and how did you overcome it? Now, it can be from your entire career, not just with Chokesetter.
Man, we played once, not in Chokesetter, but from another. We haven't had really bad show in Chokesetter. Not one that I would be like, oh, God. There's been a couple where we're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have the hook in that, but we still played it and done it and did what we were supposed to. But we played once back in the day in one of my first bands in Ohio, and it was Blues Brothers style. Walked in chicken wire around the stage, literally like Conway Twitty playing on the jukebox. And I called my manager and I'm like, listen, asshole. I said, I'm not shitting you when I say there's chicken wire around the stage in this place. He said, get out of here, dude. I'm like, I am not bullshit, man. So, back in the day, camera phones sucked. So I sent him a picture and it takes, 2 hours to go through it. And sure enough, man, he texts me back. He goes, get the fuck out of there, dude. I said, we're already set up and getting ready to play, dude. And there was like 5 people in the place with 3 teeth shared between each of them. Madder than hell that there was some heavy metal. I thought we were getting murdered in this little town that night for sure.
Oh, man.
And that's hands down the worst show I've ever played and will remember for the rest of my life.
Jeez. You didn't just play the theme to Rawhide over and over, no?
No, man. The guys busting chops about it, like we can do
it. Oh man, that really takes the cake. Now I think that's one of the worst I've heard.
It was pretty crazy, man. And I was like, "This is not." We got pictures, what I mean. This is a legit thing.
Oh man! But makes for a good story years later.
It does, man. It does.
Yeah.
Great memories. They all can't be that good.
Yeah. So back to Chokesetter then. I often ask, what are the principles of the band, or what are your guys' values? What do you want to achieve through your music?
We just want people to, we don't really have like a message or nothing. We're some blue collar guys, man. We're some workers that, the only message that we got is be good to people, basically. You know what I mean? Be good to everybody. Enjoy life. Man, this shit's short. It's terribly short. Terribly, terribly short. And there ain't no reason to be mad at everybody and shit all the time, man. You gotta just enjoy. I guess the credo of the band is just enjoy life. Enjoy your day, enjoy the moment, because you ain't got a lot of them.
Yeah. That's actually pretty good. Actually, it's you don't need to overcomplicate it. With different messages, just have fun. Have fun.
If you're coming to a Chokesetter show, you better believe we're gonna have a good time somehow. Some way or another.
Yeah, exactly. And the listeners love to hear this one. What's your pre-show and post-show rituals?
Well, I'm a pretty quiet fella before I walk on stage. My rage and craziness all comes out for 45 minutes a night. So I'm pretty reserved. I like just to, I'm really like to hang out with my buddies, man. I hang out with my band members. We talk shop, talk shit, talk things other than music a lot of the times. And then about 15 minutes before I go on, I usually sneak away from everybody, and everybody kind of knows that routine of mine. I like to be by myself and kind of gather what's getting ready to happen. Because it's a rush, it's an adrenaline. It's like jumping out of a plane when you're walking on the stage. And like I said, no matter if there's 5 or 5,000, it's there's always a butterfly. And I was told by a musician a long time ago, a guy that I had met, he said, if you ever stop getting butterflies, stop playing music, because you're done. You're not having fun anymore. And I was like, damn, dude, and it's not even, and a musician can tell you what it is. It's not even like you're turning scared, it's just like you got that little thing in your stomach saying, hey, some shit's about to go down. What you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
That's my pregame, really, just being by myself for a couple minutes and gathering my thoughts. And if my wife's around, I always like to talk to her, because she's always really good at calming my nerves. Or my little sister comes out to shows every once in a while, and she's been my best buddy ever since she was been born. So if she's out, I always sneak away with her for a second, bullshit, and just kind of talk about things other than what's getting ready to happen. But after the show, I definitely have to go gather my thoughts before I talk to people, because I'll start talking crazy nonsense, and the adrenaline rush is still there, so I
Yeah.
like to sneak away and have a happy smoke before I go interact with everybody, and calm the nerves the
Yeah.
herbal way.
I get you. I get you.
I'm not a drinker, so
Yeah, yeah, it has to be done, I suppose. You have to calm them somehow. But as well, it's such a rush being on stage, right? Say a Friday night, you're there, massive crowd, you have one of the best shows of your life. You get up Saturday morning and it's back to normal life. How do you deal with that?
yeah, it's well, these there's times that we're actually pulling in from a show and dropping people off at their jobs. Basically, sometimes we're pulling in at 3 or 4 in the morning, and a couple of us work at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're out the door. So you're really just you're walking in, you're washing the shower off of you, you're going to work, and then you're getting in the van and doing it again the next night. Sometimes, you know what I mean. And so our families have been really cool with it. The ones of us that have kids and wives, and everybody's really supportive of what we do and understand what's going on, and that not everybody gets a chance that we get, and gets to do this like we do. So it's,
Yeah.
the guy that I own the company with, or, run the company or whatever, is so cool about it. He always tells me, you don't belong here. You belong out there, so having a support system around you is a very, very helpful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people would say if you don't have that support network, you're at nothing.
No, and you're not. It's nothing if you don't have that love around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And 10, 20, 30 years down the line, when you look back at your career, what needs to happen for you to sit back and say, yes, I achieved everything I wanted to?
As long as our music gets out there, really, and I'm still, best buddies with these three guys. I think, and I haven't destroyed my family or any of theirs. I think, I think we've achieved. As long as we keep releasing music, and people still like coming out and hanging out and talking. It's one of our favorite things is talking to the fans, man. I love sitting at the merch booth with everybody after the shows. And so, in 30 years, I'm hoping my kids are listening and proud, and like, hey, this was dad, and this was grandpa, whatever, and it still makes people smile. I hope it still makes people smile after a bunch of years that me and these three guys really, really made something that made an impression on people.
Yeah, yeah. It's clear to see though that, you're one band that it truly, genuinely is about the music. Sometimes I ask that question and it's like, oh, I want like to be a multimillionaire. I want to be bigger than Metallica. But for you guys, it's just as long as you've made the music and made people happy.
Yeah, and it's honestly that. As long as I can play shows until I'm 70, like the Rolling Stones, you know what I mean? But medaling it out, I'm going to be happy, happy, happy. I mean?
Yeah, that's something I'd like to see now. The Zimmer frame and everything.
Yeah, it's never been, dude. Money. If you get into music for money, then you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you have to love this job to keep doing it. And if like I said, it's that butterfly thing. If you don't feel that little twitch, if you're just thinking, oh, I'm getting paid this much to walk out tonight and play for an hour or whatever, well, that's not enough. And I'm telling you right now, it's like baseball players. You fools are getting paid $100 million to play a kid's game. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
These musicians out here worried about the money. They ain't in it for the right thing, man. They ain't in it for the people that love music. They're just in it for those people's money. And that sucks, man. That sucks to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think them people don't have any longevity in the game anyway, because eventually they'll get sick of it, or the fans will realize.
Yeah, it's the new computer generated music. It's ridiculous, man. And I try to tell my kids, obviously, just like our parents telling us growing up, listen to that junk you're listening to. Oh, this is terrible. You can't even understand what they're saying. I'm like, yeah, but dude, you fall asleep when you listen to Led Zeppelin. I understand the love of Led Zeppelin. I get it. You know what I mean? They're great, but you understand my point. it's a generational thing. And my kids listen, and some of my friends are like, who your dad is? What the hell are you listening to? I don't care. I mean, he didn't get dogged out for what he listened to when he was young. So, I've always been open about that. I'm like, you guys know that these guys don't play musician. They're instruments. They're just playing buttons on a keyboard, and all that crazy up and down you hear in the voice is all auto tuned. And I'm like, this isn't raw, man. This isn't the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't
they're all
agree
bought
more.
into it. And it's unbelievable to me that everybody's bought into it like they have. And it's just, it's lost its soul. And that's what we keep on trying to bring back. The soul of music, basically, is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
We are trying to do. I'm never hot.
I sometimes worry though, that our generation may be the last ones. If you think about the kids nowadays on TikTok and music that way, like in 10, 20 years time, what will music actually be like?
Oh my gosh. Well, luckily there's a lot of up and coming bands that's trying to relight the torch. Thankfully, obviously we're a little older, and so there's some younger cats than us. But man, we have played with some guys that you see it in their eyes. They're burning again. You know what I mean? There's that torch is coming back, and if we can keep lighting them torches, just a couple at a time, and they carry that a little farther, it and it's not just our genre of stoner rock or whatever you want to call it. It's death metal, it's the new math metal, it's the just the grunge, the punk. There's a lot of stuff coming back, and a lot of hungry kids that are trying to beat that bug down, that radio computer bug down. They're actually playing instruments and doing something.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get on to the last couple of questions then, what are the future plans for Chokesetter?
Well, we've talked about doing a video for another song off the album, but we've also talked, we're writing, we're always writing. So we're in the middle of doing that too. So it's, we're up in the air about, do we keep going on with the album? Because, really the album's new. It sucks that it's 4 years old, but it's new because we didn't get to do anything with it for 2.5 years, so for us, it's it's always going to be awesome to play it. But obviously, after playing it for a couple of years, it's like, I'm ready for some new music, but this thing's still going. People still like it. So why don't we just keep playing it? So it's always that toss up. But we always slide a new song or two in every few months just to check it out and see what people think. You know what I mean? And we're always writing, like I said. So there'll be something new out here in the next year, at least. Hopefully sooner, but at least the next year.
Brilliant. I'm glad to hear that. I can't wait to hear some new stuff from you guys. We'll move on to the last couple of questions, so everybody gets these, so you can't get off the podcast till you answer, I'm afraid.
No worries.
If there was a band or musician you could see in concert for one night only, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So now this is so I don't care what anybody says or anybody thinks. Freddie Mercury is the greatest frontman that ever lived. And I would give my left nut to be able to go back and see Live Aid one time with him playing that show, because I will not lie, I probably watched that concert once a month, and that's no shit. That man was a freaking frontman genius, and anybody that says otherwise is a fool and doesn't know anything about music. Just my opinion. Sorry, musicians out there listening. Other than that, the big tie for me would have been Freddie or Frank. I would have loved to seen Zappa. I know, obviously, I never got to, and that would have just been, he's one of my biggest influences because he didn't give a shit. Zappa truly did not care. He was going to create what he created, and if he didn't like it, the next guy probably was going to, and he knew that. And he didn't give a shit. He was the first, I think, musician that just didn't care in rock and roll about what anybody thought. He was going to play it his way. Oh, you don't think this rock and roll song needs a xylophone? Watch this shit. I'm going to make a whole album with a xylophone. That's mad genius to me.
Yeah.
If he could have not played them and been a front man like Freddie, and he tied those two together somehow, that's the ultimate for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It'd be so great, though, to just, be able to cut free like him and just not give a damn whatsoever.
Dude, the cojones on that guy were just unbelievable.
Yeah. I think that might be the secret to a perfectly happy life. Don't Just don't give a shit.
No, because nowadays you got to be so scared about everything, and it sucks. You know what I mean? So you can't do like Zappa did and just just not care. You
Yeah.
got to be so careful, and it's and I understand. I do. I get it. In ways, but in the other ways, we were all raised in a different generation, so it is what it is. You can't say certain things like Zappa could have said back in the day to the bigwigs, not people, but like I'm talking about the industry people, so everybody don't get offended. I'm talking about industry people, obviously. Frank didn't care. You read stories about that. He was like the Hunter Thompson of music. He didn't care. He did not care.
Yeah, exactly. And the next one. If you could spend 24 hours locked inside a room with any musician from history, living or dead, who would it be?
It'd be Zappa.
I was thinking you'd say that, all right.
It'd be Zappa. To be able to talk to him. I just want to watch Freddie play.
Yeah.
I want to talk to him. I want to have a conversation with this cat. You know what I mean? Me and this dude need to have a conversation. And and I would just be like, leave me in here for a month. I'd be fine, and I don't need no pencil or paper or recording devices. Just let me talk to this dude.
Yeah, just for yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't even tell anybody what we talked about. That would be for me and me only, for life.
Yeah, I get that. I think everybody has that one musician or one idol they'd have that conversation with. Yeah. And the next one, so if there was a song that could appear on the soundtrack to your life, what would it be?
Damn. Soundtrack to my life. Damn. Dude, I'd have to say Cyborg Betty by Clutch.
Right. Why
Dude,
that one?
That song, just because that song, it speaks to me. When you turn it on, I can't help but do 9,000 miles an hour in my car or whatever I'm doing. Even if I'm just walking, my legs seem to roadrunner. And it's just that or Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up. Because when that song comes on, I will grin ear to ear and my head will start doing this no matter what. I don't care if it's the most serious church, funeral, wedding. If that song is in any vicinity of my brain, it makes me happy. That is like the happiest song in the world. I don't know why, but that Marvin Gaye song just makes me like smile for days.
Yeah, I get that. All right, I get that. We're going to close the show with World Eater. Would you like to give us a bit of an intro? Tell us about it.
Yeah, World Eater is one of our awesome fiction songs. It's just about everybody needing to wake up before we get eaten, and understand that it's kind of it's a little bit of understanding about don't be so simple about thinking that we're it. I've always told people, if you think that this is it, you are a selfish person, because there's no way that we're the only thing in the universe. No way.
Yeah.
So it's about, it's really about, you hear the asteroid things in it and you hear about the guy coming to get us all, and it's just basically about, don't think we're the smartest and best thing ever out there. Don't be humble. Please be humble.
Nothing remains in the wake of the man. Pleasant rain from asteroids deep in inner planes. No remains. All the life left in his wife. now in vain as he takes the soul from realizing no one's escaping this our fate now reigning as the grave Thanos brings
cold chills when there's no breeze. Sounds you can't explain. Foreboding feelings of dread. Sheer horror. This is Haunting Abaddon, an original podcast from Epilid Media featuring stories of the paranormal, demonic possessions, poltergeists and hauntings, and all things that will scare the hell out of you. These things do more than go bump in the night.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. And if you're interested in signing up to Band Builder Academy, use the link in the show notes below and enter the code CONCERTS and you'll receive 10% off. So, until next time, keep rocking.
Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show's over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here. Bye.